Hey guys, it's Tanya. I know it's been a while since I last posted, but all I can say is that shit happens in JC and it caused me to be quite busy for like quite a while, but now that it's June holidays, I'm somewhat free, so yeah. Right now I'm trying to keep my voice as low as possible because my mom is currently sleeping. I don't know why every time I choose to record, and it's always when she's like in bed. So right now I'm trying my best like not to wake her. But yeah, today's video is gonna be pretty chill. I'm just gonna be sharing a bit about my DSA experience and maybe giving a few tips here and there. Especially since DSA season is coming up pretty soon. I think it's like next month. Like now it's June. Things like around July, August-ish. So I just wanted to share like what it was like for me. Also, I kind of forgot to mention this, but DSA stands for Direct School Admission, and according to MOE's website, DSA basically is an alternative pathway for students to gain admission to be it secondary schools or JCs based on their interests, aptitude, and potential beyond their performance at PSLE or O-levels. For context, I am currently a student studying at Raffles JC, and at the time, last year, I applied to Raffles JC, Eunoia JC, and Nanyang JC, and I got into Raffles and Raffles and Nanyang. So I just wanted to share what it was like for me and maybe give some advice to those of you out there who might be applying for DSA this year. So without further ado, let's get into it. So when I was applying for DSA, for these three schools, I applied via Chinese Orchestra and through my instrument, which is erhu. And at the time last year, I was at grade 7. I passed my grade 7 with distinction. And I had been playing erhu for like around 3 to 4 years-ish already. For those of you who are curious, the piece I was playing for, I was preparing for all 3 of my interviews was 三门峡唱响曲. After playing this piece for like a whole year straight, I swear to God, I just hate this piece now. Like, don't get me wrong, it's a pretty nice piece, but like after playing this shit for so long, I just hate it. I just like hear trauma every time I listen to it. But anyways, I digress. I remember at the time when I was preparing for all these interviews, I was like really stressed out. Like, I was worried about like what I should say. I was like thinking about every single possible question. Hell, I even like asked ChatGPT to generate a few questions for me. I mean, not gonna lie, I think that was pretty helpful. Like basically like thinking about any possible outcome, any possible question. Somehow like stressing about these questions helped me to de-stress in a way. It made me feel like a bit more reassured. And that's something I would recommend to those who are planning to DSA. Not only will they be looking at your skill, they'll also be accessing you based on your answers to their questions as well. So yeah, that's something to look out for as well. Yeah, I remember like I created a whole ass Google Doc with all these questions, and then I would have like a few like short form answers and like bullet points, which I would then like, I'll just look at the question and then I'll just like recite my answer in my head. And like I just did this for like I think 2 weeks straight, just trying to remember all my answers properly, especially since there happened to be one school out of the 3 schools that I was applying for. I'm not gonna say the name just in case like, I don't know, they come after me for like revealing their secrets. But yeah, there was one school that required me to provide a personal statement, like prepare a personal statement beforehand along with like the guiding questions they gave me. So I also had that to prepare, like a whole ass essay to remember for that one question. So yeah, that was something to worry about as well. Besides worrying about like these interview questions and like playing a role, another thing I had to like kind of like worry about was also like my exam results, because besides looking at besides like accessing your skills, another thing schools will definitely keep into consideration is your current academic level. So for me, I wasn't really doing that well like beforehand. Like I remember last year, like my end of year exam, I got like 21 L1 R5, and then my most recent test before my interview was like I think it was 11 or 15, I can't remember. I think it's 11. Yeah, it was 11. Which like, hey, it sounds good, right? It sounds like okay, right? But I was worried that they wouldn't really schools might still be worried about it, cause like 11 is for like smaller scale exams, like compared to my last year's exam result, which is like end of year result, which like has like way more content that was being accessed. I was worried that teachers might see my previous year's result as like a big issue and would overlook the fact that I had scored better for my TA2. One of the schools happened to actually ask me about it. Like one of the teachers, they like asked me about it. Like, hey, like, you know, this is kind of like an issue, you know? Like TA2 is like smaller scale. And I just like bullshitted and said like, oh, but it's a sign that I'm improving. Like, you know, from last year 21 to 11, it shows significant improvement. And they bought it. Yeah, another thing about being in interviews is learning how to lie. Actually, no, not lie. Learning how to think positive and bullshit your answers. You need to keep calm and like think of every negative you have as a positive. Like when they ask like, what's your weakness, and you say that like, oh, you're lazy, you have to find some way to think of it as a positive. Like, you're lazy, but you know how to find shortcuts and be more efficient at your work. I remember last year, I happened to have like both 2 interviews at the same day. I went to Raffles first, then I went to Nanyang, because it just so happened that the 2 of them were having their interviews on the same day, and I kind of had to like reschedule one of them. So I was like, yeah, GG, okay, I guess. So I remember when I was going for like my Raffles DSA, everything went wrong. Like the moment I stepped foot, shit happened. Cause you see, I was dropped off by my mom early, cause you know, I wanted to be early and stuff so that I have time to like calm down before the interview. But that did not happen. I was told that I would have someone there waiting for me to escort me to the CO room, cause it's like I was dropped off at the pickup point. I was meant to like wait for them there, but I didn't see anyone there. And at the time I was so worried, I forgot that maybe they weren't there because I'm like 30 minutes early. I went at 30 minutes early, and I was wondering, why is no one there? So I panicked. I was planning to sit there and wait, but like my mom was in the car, like outside. She was like, cause I told her that there will be someone picking me up, but I think we were both so stressed that we forgot that we were like 30 minutes early. And she's like, why is no one there? Why is no one there? Can you walk around and ask around and look for that person? So I got stressed too. So I started like wandering around the school campus, just feeling more and more stressed, and just asking people along the way like, hey, do you know where's the CO room? No one knows where it is. And then it just so happened that there was another like DSA interview going on. Like, it's not related to the CO. Like, cause you know, like, you don't, besides like DSAing through CCA, you can also DSA through like subjects or like leadership. There happened to be a leadership DSA happening on the same day as well. So when I was walking around, and then they're like, who are you? And I'm like, oh, I'm here to like DSA. and like I said CO, but then they still redirected me to this other room for like DSA applicants to like leadership, cause like they're like, you know, they're all DSA students anyway, sama all the same. So they just brought me to the general office where like they happen to have like their leadership DSA like there. So I was just sitting around with these like other DSA students in the waiting room, and they're all asking me like, so you're here for the leadership like DSA too? What's that thing behind your back? I was carrying like my bag behind me, so they're asking me, why do you have that? And I was like, I'm here for like the DSA via CO, not leadership. So yeah, and the worst part was like suddenly I received a text from like one of the seniors there, and they're like, hi, where are you? I don't see you at the pickup point, because at that time 30 minutes had already passed, and like after like walking around for like so long, it just so happened to meet like the actual time to like meet them at the pickup point, and obviously I wasn't there because I was already dragged to the general office. Then I kind of had to explain to her, and yeah, shit happened. It kind of got resolved after like this teacher like escorted me out of the general office back to the pickup point, and then we were like brought to the CO room by the senior. Yeah. It was pretty stressful, that entire ordeal of being late and like realizing that I'm gonna be late because my dumbass couldn't sit still. But hey, the good thing is that I happened to have like a nice tour of the school that I wouldn't have gotten if I had waited for the senior to come. Like genuinely, it was like through this experience of like looking around the school while being super panicked and like talking to these really nice like students, by the way. I don't know whether they'll be watching this video, but to those two students who like helped me like help direct me to like the general office, like, and the students and the SAC Students Affairs Center, thanks so much, man. I really panicked and screwed up that day, man. But yeah, it made me realize that like it kind of removed that stigma I had previously, that like RI is like a super elite school of like many like snobbish people. Because at the time when I applied to Raffles, I actually applied as a joke. My mom was like, because I was already sure that I wanted Eunoia. My mom placed me made me apply for Nanyang because she loved Nanyang, and we just applied to Raffles because like that I had like an empty slot, because like, you know, you can apply to a maximum of 3 schools, and she's like, what should we fill the third one up with? I don't know, let's put Raffles cause for fun, cause like, you know, I obviously won't, there's no way I get in, right? After I was like kind of late and just like rushing in and feeling like shit, thankfully I kind of managed to like quickly calm myself down. But when I was in the waiting room, I was actually with like 2 other students. There's this one guy who's like a sona player, and then there's another guy who's like a dazi player. So dazi is actually like percussion basically, and they freaked me the hell out. Okay, I have my reasons. I think me stressing out after seeing this too is pretty valid, hear me out, because when you think about it, for CO, sona players and daji rap players are normally like super valuable, especially if they are people who have like trained in this specifically. They have like outside coaching for it, because it's very rare to have people who like specialize in these 2 areas. So when I see these 2 MFs just there like practicing, I knew because my instrument at the time, I felt that my instrument is actually pretty dispensable, like as in like it's not as important compared to these 2, because these 2 are actually quite pivotal to like CO itself. Sona is the loudest, and like daji is like so important. Like there's so many instruments in like percussion, and to have someone specialized in percussion is like so rare to have. So I felt at that point in time when I was in the practice room that I had no chance of getting in, especially since I was already late. and like I really like messed up so much. And then the worst part was like during the interview itself. Okay, when I was answering my questions, I was actually like quite confident because like I already like prepared all my answers beforehand, you know, and it just so happened that like all the questions they were asking happened to be questions that I had thought of beforehand and prepared answers for. However, it was during like the actual playing itself that I feel like I messed up like really bad. Yeah, like I can't remember the exact details, but I just remember like feeling like shit after playing all of that. But that's not even the worst part yet. There happened to be a sight reading component, and normally I was prepared for that to be like around 5 minutes. And to give a bit of comparison, besides DSA, I also happened to be applying for SNYCO that year. For those of you who don't know, that is Singapore National Youth Chinese Orchestra, and their process is also kind of like similar, except they don't really have that many interview questions, if at all. You just have to like play your pieces, and there's also a sight reading component there. Sight reading in SNYCO was obviously longer because the piece itself is a bit more. The sight reading piece is like trickier than what schools would normally give, but they'll give around like 10 minutes for you to like read through and sight read it. And schools would normally give around 5 minutes when they're generous to like sight read like a short excerpt. Like it will be around like 20 bars, 20-25 bars ish, around there, and it'll usually be a bit like quite a slow piece, like maybe around 60 to 80 BPM, around there. And then like the tiao itself is like usually quite simple. They won't give like something that's like damn like B flat or something. It's usually quite simple, like C, D, whatever. I mean, that's what I know for erhu lah. For other instruments it might be different, but yeah, in terms of the tiao and like the BPM itself, it was fine, it's normal. The issue is they didn't put like an excerpt, they put out like a whole ass score, and then the conductor just said sight read this in 1 minute. I was like, what 1 minute is pretty insane. And I was like really like stressed out at the time. I was like, 1 minute, what am I gonna do in 1 minute? So I was like just like silently practicing. But thankfully the piece happened to be a piece that I learned before in my previous school, Senix. It is it's a Studio Ghibli song. I can't for the life of me pronounce the Japanese name, but I think it's the theme of Ponyo. Yeah. So thankfully I knew the melody already. So I was basically just playing like the same piece I learned in secondary school with a few added like embellishments, because this piece was like this version was a bit more extra. Yeah. And so thankfully my sight reading component didn't go too badly. But yeah, I remember just walking out of the interview feeling like 我跟这个学校没有缘分. And to those of you who don't understand Chinese, is that me and this school aren't fated at all. It's not meant to be. Because I felt that every single thing that could go wrong went wrong. And I think it's like because I had this mentality that like I was a bit more confident when I was going for my next interview at Nanyang, because like I already experienced anything that could go wrong at an interview. So when I went there, I was like, what's the worst that could happen at this point? I've experienced anything bad that could happen already. So thankfully my Nanyang one didn't really go too badly. In fact, it went like really smoothly, and I was like pretty confident the whole way as well. Probably because like all my nerves had like shaken off from my first interview. So yeah, Nanyang was like way more uneventful. As for my Eunoia interview, okay, the thing about Eunoia is that Eunoia happens to be affiliated with my previous secondary school, Senix. Okay, technically it's not affiliated, like they're both linked under the IP program. So like the IP students from Senix will get to go to Eunoia afterwards. So a lot of my seniors were there. And another thing about that is it just so happened that the conductor of the CO in Senix was the same as the conductor at Eunoia. So yeah, it was quite interesting to just see him there again. I remember one of the interesting questions they asked during the interview was whether I knew what was the meaning behind my piece. It's quite interesting because the other schools had never asked me this question, and it just so happened that I read up the history of 三门峡 长相去. So a bit of a history lesson. 三门峡 is as you can tell by the title, is based on China itself. It's quite a communist piece. It's basically about how the workers were working on this dam at this place called 三门峡. It's a part of China, and they're just singing a tune while they're just hammering away at the dam, dun da da dun da 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 da. Yeah. And yeah, that's basically what the piece is about. It was just working hard on this dam. Besides asking the meaning of the piece, they also kind of asked how it links to me. I think I remember they asked something about how it's related to me, what I thought about it or something along the lines of that. I don't know, it's a pretty obscure question. But I just basically said that I just said the entire backstory, and I was I feel it inspires me to work hard and be hardworking like these people working on the dam. And I thought my answer was pretty smooth. I actually really liked my answer, not gonna lie, especially since I had previously taken the time to research about this piece. And after that interview, I was glad that I had put in this time to do so for every single piece I've learned. So yeah. Okay, besides asking that interesting question, one of the teachers at the interview panel. Oh, by the way, DSA interviews, they'll normally have a panel of teachers, 1 to 2 teachers along with the conductor, and sometimes they might have one of the exco there to act as a scribe. I mean, they normally won't ask any questions, because normally the input doesn't really matter. But yeah, sometimes they may or may not be there. Anyways, one of the teachers there just quite focused on my academics itself, whether I'll be able to catch up. And I think it was through answering these questions that I sort of slipped up in a way somehow. I think I didn't really give a very satisfactory answer. I wasn't successful in bullshitting my way out. So yeah, it might have been one of the reasons why I wasn't accepted. But then again, when they're choosing for applicants, sometimes it doesn't really matter how well you did during the interview, how well you played for if you're in performing arts, or how well you did in maybe sports, how fast you were at running the track and field, whatever. Sometimes the fact of the matter is you're not what they're looking for. I think that's something really important to keep in mind when it comes to DSA, especially for when you're DSAing through CCA. Maybe for leadership and academics is a different story, because it's quite clear cut. You scored well for this subject. You can see the numbers, it's right there. Leadership, subjective, but whatever. You can see that oh, this person is more leadery. It's more leadership vibes compared to the other. I'm gonna choose this candidate. That's quite clear, sure. But for CCAs, especially for performing arts, it's not always the case, and sometimes it's really unfair as well, because sometimes they aren't really choosing based on how who's the best there, who has the most skill. Sure, that's something important too, but it all comes down to what the CCA truly needs, what it requires at the time. like maybe some of them, they're lacking in those who are good at playing swona, or like they're lacking in those who they're lacking in talent in certain areas. And the reason why they would have DSA in the first place is to get students to fill in these talent areas that they are lacking in. So let's say they're lacking in like students who are skilled at playing swona, and then they have two candidates. One is a swona player that has like up to like grade 4 experience, compared to like another student who has been learning for way longer and is like has like, I don't know, let's say grade 6 experience. But let's say in this same situation, they are lacking in swona players, but they already have like a very skilled erhu player currently in this section. Like this erhu player is already like what, maybe grade 6 or even higher, or like maybe they're even in SNY. So when it comes to choosing between these two, chances are they'll choose the swona player who's like grade 4 and is like lesser experienced, even when the other candidate is clearly more skilled. Because at the end of the day, they're gonna choose based on what they need, not just on whether the students are good or not. So yeah, it's kind of unfair sometimes. Like you might be really good at your instrument, you might have been like practicing so long for like so many years. Hell, you might be like overqualified compared to your other candidates. But in the end, it all just boils down to whether or not the school even needs you in the first place. So yeah, my theory was that I think that was kind of the case for me when it came to like, that's why I didn't get in. I mean, sure, I was kind of sad that I wasn't accepted into especially since that was like my dream school. But the good thing is like I was at least accepted into the other two JCs. And actually what happened for me was that I first received news from Nanyang that I was accepted, followed by Raffles. And when I got my Raffles, when I got the notification that I was accepted by Raffles, I had already submitted my form of acceptance to Nanyang. And at the time, I hadn't even considered Raffles at all. But it was after I was accepted that I suddenly started to actually consider it. And back then my classmates also kind of knew about it, and when I told them about it, and they're just like, "You stupid, obviously go choose Raffles." I mean, both are good schools, don't get me wrong, both are like really really good schools, but a lot of my classmates just thought that Raffles would be the better choice. And for me, I was like really stuck between these two schools. But majority of people were telling me to go to Raffles, but my mom was quite adamant about me going to Nanyang, because remember, she was the one that really wanted me to go to Nanyang in the first place. I didn't think that Nanyang was a bad school. Back then, when I went for the interview, after I came out, I felt, hey, I actually wouldn't mind to actually go to Nanyang. But the reason why I hesitated was because like I heard a lot of like rumors that like Nanyang is a mugger school. Like they're the kind of school that like just like is really into studies, and like all their papers are like supposedly like harder than average, like harder than Raffles somehow. And for me at the time, I was thinking like this isn't something that I want. Like I want a school that can not only allow me to be academically driven, but also to have time to care about my social life, to really mix around and like make friends. Because I was told that secondary school sucks, but like JC life, you'll have like a more social life. I don't know, have more freedom and like be able to mix around and make new friends. And that was something I was really looking forward to, because I felt back then, like in secondary school, I was kind of like a loner. I felt like I had no friends. So yeah, that was kind of the reason why I decided I wanted to go to Raffles. Totally not because my tuition teacher told me that Raffles had gap days. Basically, their Wednesdays are free. Like they have no school on Wednesdays. Totally wasn't the reason, man. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I'd say that me accepting Raffles was kind of like my greatest blessing, but also like my greatest mistake in a way as well. I say greatest blessing because I truly feel grateful to have met so many made so many new friends and gotten to know so many people at Raffles and be provided so many opportunities. Because another thing about being in Raffles is that they also have this thing called the Raffles Alumni CO, which is basically comprised of like ex-students and current students like volunteering to like perform in CO. And I felt like really happy to have like met these people and be around people who are so passionate about CO and be around so many like-minded people, because this wasn't something I really had like in secondary school. You know, people were like more chill. They weren't driven like that. They weren't passionate like that. So yeah, that was the good things about being in Raffles. But there was one thing I had to sacrifice by being in Raffles, and that was that I had to reject SNYCO. And to recap, SNYCO is the Singapore National Youth Chinese Orchestra. It's something that's like so prestigious, like really comprises of youth who are like talented in their instrument, like just like going there to play. I think my teacher really wanted me to like get in so that I could be around like people like of like the same standard as me, and to really be inspired by people who like might be more, by the people there who might even be more skilled than me in terms of playing. And what made it even more painful is that I had managed to get to play zhonghu there, and zhonghu is actually like a pretty difficult instrument to play. Like, okay, to explain, basically the section itself, like xianrui section, they have erhu, zhonghu, gaohu. And zhonghu is generally regarded to be like slightly more difficult to play compared to erhu. Well, gaohu is like more difficult to, it's like the kind of considered to be the most difficult to play amongst all three. It's like also the most resonant as well. It's like this is the loudest. That's why usually it's the most skilled players who get to play gaohu. But for zhonghu, especially when it comes to SNYCO, it's generally given to like players who are like slightly better than like those playing erhu, kind of. Like in school CCAs, this is the opposite, by the way. zhonghu is given to those who are like, sorry to say, shitty at playing. That's the fact, because zhonghu is generally like softer. Like to project, you need to like exert more strength. So they just give it to like the players who aren't like really that skilled to like play zhonghu, so they can just like be silent in the background, which is like kind of scummy to do, but you gotta do what you gotta do sometimes. But yeah, it really felt painful to like reject such an opportunity, especially to play zhonghu at SNYCO, and that was like one sacrifice I had to make by joining Raffles. Some people ask me like, why couldn't I just like stay in both, or hell, even like just like quit my current CCA and just like take SNYCO as like my own CCA, because it's something you can do actually. SNYCO can be like your only CCA, since SNY can be pretty shag. But I couldn't do that as a DSA student, because okay, first of all, I couldn't like take both together because Raffles and SNYCO, the sessions both clash on Mondays and Tuesdays, especially because I'm in xianrui, like I play erhu, like it clashes with both. So I couldn't take both at the same time, and I couldn't just quit Raffles because I already made that commitment via DSA that I'm committing to this CCA fully. So I couldn't just quit and go to SNY, even though it's like a great opportunity, because I already like made that like contract from it. Still like the whole ass contract I had to sign. But so yeah, as painful as it might be, I had to reject SNY. Maybe I could have still stayed in SNY if I had chosen to go for Nanyang instead. But honestly, thinking back, even if I could make that choice again, I'd probably still choose Raffles, because Raffles to me was like a huge opportunity, something I would never have had the chance to even consider if I were to simply like try to get in via GAE, because at the time my results were damn shoddy, were damn shitty. Raffles to me was like an opportunity to connect, an opportunity for like connection, to connect with people who were like-minded like me in terms of like their passion for playing, and you know, to meet maybe future doctors and lawyers there. It's also because I felt that Raffles would be somewhere where I could actually make like really good friends, and that was actually what happened. I wouldn't say I didn't make any good friends at Raffles. I'm eternally grateful to have made the friends that I had made in Raffles, honestly. Even if I could go back in time, back to the day I was making the decision between Raffles and Nanyang, I don't think I would have changed my decision, even if I had to reject SMYCO. I think what's really important is to not stress out too much, because you could have like put in so much effort to like practice your instrument, prepare for the interview, and do all these things beforehand. But if you were to stress out on the day itself, all your efforts would be in vain. So I think it's really important to just keep calm and just like keep a cool head. For me, what I did was like I just carried around this bottle of lavender oil, and I'll just like lather it all around my neck and clothes. I think so like whenever I walked around like into these interviews, I think I always smelled a shit ton like lavender, because like that was the only way I could keep a sane and cool head. But hey, you gotta do what you gotta do, man. I mean, lavender smells great. I'd argue with people who say otherwise. So yeah, just find a way to just chill a bit before the interview. Like maybe like before the interview starts, you can do a bit of mindfulness. I heard that's really helpful. For me, I just use aromatherapy using like lavender essential oils. I found that's quite helpful. Or maybe you can listen to a bit of music beforehand. Do what you gotta do. Most important, it's just really important to just keep a cool head and keep calm, and have trust in all the effort you've put in so far, and don't doubt yourself. Just showcase what you have to the teachers, and let fate do its thing and do the rest. Before I end off, I just want to say that especially for something like this, like when it comes to DSA, it's very easy for things to not go your way. Like maybe you were really pining for like the school to accept you in, but even in the event that like you don't get into the school that you had previously desired to, I think sometimes that can also be a blessing in disguise. Like maybe that school just wasn't meant for you. Like maybe even if you were to enter the school and like maybe let's say you were previously struggling like academically, just like going in there would just be like a death sentence. So I think one important thing to note about DSA is to really just not put too much hope into it, especially like what I said, sometimes it can be pretty unfair. Just because you're very skilled doesn't mean that school necessarily accept you. I think when it comes to DSA, you just need to enter with an open mind. Think of DSA as a way of like just casting a net to like casting like your net and expanding like your chances of like entering a school. Because even if you don't get in via DSA, like you can obviously still like try via GAE and like focus on your studies as well. So yeah, that's my DSA experience in a nutshell. I hope you guys enjoyed my yapping. If you didn't, too bad. This is my channel. I get to do whatever the fuck I want. But yeah, if you have any questions, please leave them down in the comments. I'll try my best to answer them as best I could, as early as I can. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!